I'm Rick and I want to talk about compound handles that are decorative. First things first, speargun handles have got to be functional. They've got to fit your hand. They've got to be strong. Looks are number 3 in the list of priorities, but it certainly helps if the speargun handle looks nice. One way of jazzing up a handle is to mix and match different woods, different timbers at different colours. Grain direction makes a big difference to the strength of timber. Along the length of the grain, you'll find that the timber is strong, but across the grain, it's substantially weaker. The normal handles I make are usually made from 3 pieces. And what I can do is I have the grain running this way on the outside plates, and I have the grain running this way along here, along the trigger guard where it's weakest. Some people call the side plates scales. So it's important to get the grain direction right if you want a strong handle. But as soon as you start adding extra bits of timber to the outside plates, you suddenly stop having that continuity of grain. You need to redesign the grain direction inside the handle to compensate. Instead of making the centre spine out of one piece of wood with the grain running horizontal, I go and make it out of 2. Inside the centre spine has grain running that way, and on the trigger guard I have the spine running that way. So I have to have an internal joint. The joint's hidden by the side plates, of course. So today I started to make a handle out of red gum. The centre spine was in 2 pieces, as I've just described. For the basic profile, I used the standard 6-gun handle shape that I normally use. I've got a template made out of MDF. I used a bandsaw to cut the trigger guard out of a red gun plate. I cut the handle with the grain running long ways, and I cut the trigger guard with the grain running long ways on it too. I put the trigger guard on the handle centre spine and scribed out where the joint needed to be. Then I cut it out with a bandsaw. With a bit of care on the bandsaw you can get things pretty right, but sometimes you need to finesse the joint a bit. I'd cut everything just a smidge oversized and I used a file to take them down. The joint fitted pretty nicely, and if you look closely you can see the way in which the direction of the grain run. Using a flat bench top as a form, I glued it up and clamped it all flat. For small jobs like this, I use epoxy in tubes. To tart it up a bit, I decided to put 2 different colours on the outside side plates. I wanted most of it mainly being red gum, but I also wanted just a highlight of Tassie oak, just to make it a little bit dressy. I cut a thin strip of Tassie oak from a lump of scrap. Planed it to make it smooth. That's as far as I've got today, but after the epoxy in the joint cures, which will be tomorrow, I'll leave it overnight, I'll then start putting on the side plates. I'll glue on the bottom part of the handle first, and then I'll glue a strip above it. Then a 3rd piece will go on above this strip. When both lots of side plates are on, I'll have my blank, which will be ready for cleaning up, and then for rounding, then shaping to make it fit my hand. Once it's attached to the gun, sand it down to make it smooth, whack on some penetrating epoxy, cover that with floor varnish, and then maybe add a little bit of anti-slip, and she'll be ready to go. The details for the final steps are given for other handles elsewhere on this video channel.